Welcome to a week in Pixelverse. Roguelikes have fully established themselves as a mainstream genre of games. Games within the roguelike genre spanned multiple subgenres, from tactical RPGs and deck-building games to top-down shooters, 2D action, and third-person shooters. And with Hades winning multiple 2020 Game of the Year awards, roguelikes are undeniably the new cool kid on the block of game genres. And unlike the last hardcore gamer pop genre of Souls-like, it seems as though every roguelike attempts something new, offering more variety and quality than rote imitation. And for as much as I have great respect for this genre of game, I have never once enjoyed playing a roguelike. This is by no means saying that your genre is bad and you should feel bad, but I have been noticing a trend in discussion around roguelikes that hold this expectation that people are supposed to like roguelikes, lest they be labeled as having trash tastes. So let me air my grievances so that you may see that it's okay to hate the thing that people like. Okay, well, maybe that language is too strong, but roguelikes have two fundamental problems: a lack of progression and repetitive content. These two problems compound themselves in significant ways. Roguelikes must deliver a massive variety of content to be interesting. Without that variety, we quickly see everything the game has to offer and become bored. To manage that variety of gameplay content, the content is awarded to the player randomly, and player choice attempts to craft a certain build from those random options. Outside of the random options, roguelikes also have set gameplay that is always available and usually skill-based: movements, defenses, offenses, depending on the genre. Because roguelikes exclude any sort of linear progression, progression is instead meant to be felt in the player's skill with the basic gameplay, and in their knowledge of what builds can be made on a given run. The idea of progress being internal to the player, as opposed to merely internal to the game, sounds like a great idea, but non-roguelike action games and role-playing games can also deliver on that internal skill and knowledge growth. In roguelikes, the appeals of getting skillful and getting lucky are constantly in conflict. On some runs, we just don't get the build that we need, and no amount of skill will be enough to overcome the statistical challenge. On others, you can get a lucky build that is so overpowered that no skill is required at all. And the challenge that presents to level design results in some odd difficulty curves. To match that disparity, roguelikes tend to start their games with especially high skill ceilings and especially low difficulty floors. However, to encourage the looping mechanics, getting you to fail is part of the design. Typically, this results in skill floors jumping up in difficulty at certain intervals, as though each boss and new level is saying, "This is where the true Rogue Souls begins." If I do fail at these difficulty spikes, I must start again at the lower skill floor, even though my skill is already greater than the challenge of the beginning of the game. Remember that silly little Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi cognitive flowchart? This chart represents the relationship between skill, difficulty, and the mental states that result. Frustration results if a game's difficulty outpaces skill. Boredom results if skill outpaces difficulty. And flow happens when difficulty just slightly leads skill to foster greater and greater skill development. The flow state is a common goal in game design. Roguelike design is the opposite of flow. When the difficulty floor spikes, you must pray that your build has big enough numbers to compensate for the frustration of the game's new demands. If it doesn't, and you fail, you start back where the difficulty is so low that your skill now outpaces the demand. Do you remember playing Guitar Hero, reaching expert difficulty, and then trying to play on easy mode, and suddenly easy mode is way harder than expert? It's essentially that feeling. Roguelikes take me to the peak of frustration, then punish me with boredom, with precious little moments of flow in between. So now that I have highlighted things that I find as fundamental problems with the roguelike genre, how do I propose we fix roguelikes to be more appealing to me? And my answer to that is, don't change roguelikes to make me happy. If you changed all of the issues I have with roguelikes, then you wouldn't have a roguelike game anymore. You will lose all the people who do respond well to these loops, and the people who find joy in making these conflicting systems come together. Other so-called solutions to roguelike appeal involve tacking on another kind of interaction to break up the roguelike gameplay and to deliver something more linear. Hades, for example, uses the hub world to progress a visual novel with dating sim mechanics. Two other genres I don't enjoy. Thanks. I hate it. This kind of fix is Also, inevitably, subject to whether the player enjoys that side of the gameplay as well. For someone who likes roguelikes, it is a cool bonus and an easy way to see innovation in the genre. For me, who does not like roguelikes, the side gameplay must be good enough to make me forget about my frustrations and boredom with the main game. That's a tall order for me to make, and just unfair for me to expect, especially when I can choose to play other kinds of games instead. I have played a lot of roguelikes. I wanted to like them, and I kept giving them a try, but my genuine enjoyment of any game in this genre runs dry within the first couple hours. Maybe a certain presentation, a certain story, or a certain subgenre will be so interesting to me as to keep me impassioned to the end, but if it hasn't clicked by now, I doubt it will anytime soon. Lots of people have come to me wanting to talk enthusiastically about roguelike games that they loved. They talk passionately about changing gameplay and the inherent potential for metatextual narratives, and these same people are left disheartened when I can only half-heartedly reflect their passion back to them. So rather than sympathizing with my point of view, instead I would like you to fill the comments with everything that you find great about roguelikes to counteract my sourpuss opinions. Thank you for watching, my friends. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and ring the bell, and stay true.